It's Not Another Buffalo Podcast, hosted by three of the most underqualified sports personalities this side of the canal. With John.
There's no way in hell that I can leave that in, right?
You don't think so?
Well, to quote Rage Against the Machine, what better place than here? And, what better time than now?
And Brando.
We have this trust built on, whatever it is, like Bibles and gold bricks and whatever Brandon Bean's drinking over there.
All right, welcome back to Not Another Buffalo Podcast. I'm John. I'm here with my buddies Pat and Brando here on a Wednesday evening, getting ready for this big playoff game. This episode is brought to you guys by Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, call our guy Zach Korzelius at 585-409-1088. That's 585-409-1088. For example, Zach has a great house on the market in Albion, New York, so go ahead and check that out. We'll put the link in the show notes. Very snowy in Albion right now, according to the picture, but again, 324 West Bank Street, Albion, New York. Give Zach a call, 585-409-1088 to check out that house. And again, you can just Zillow stock it in the show notes. We'll throw the link in there for you as well. Funny thing happened this weekend. Sorry to start things off with a story here, but I was in the airport and I don't remember. They were asking me for my phone number or something like that, getting booked on another flight. Again, terrible experience traveling home and happens to me all the time. But anyway, they asked me for my phone number. Whenever somebody asks me for my phone number now, I start out with 585 because I have a 585 phone number. And I start saying Zach's number instead of my own because I read that number out loud more often. So I'm like, 585-409. Oh, no, it's not that. Oops. Let me start over. And people are confused. They're like,
is it still the same
number
from when we were kids?
It is. Yeah. I mean, my cell phone number is, but no. Pat and I have each other's home phones memorized.
John,
for sure.
I think I have yours memorized also. I won't say it now.
I was going to say, let's not dox each other on the show publicly.
But I think it's there. There's like three numbers in my brain memorized, and your home phone number may be one of them. Yeah.
No, the other one might be Pat's too. I don't remember. But anyway, also, you can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. We're going to start putting out some more content again this week. Like the Bills are ramping off for the playoffs. We need to as well. I just got back from a 2-week trip away from home. So we're back to the home field advantage, just like the Bills are. So we'll start pumping out some content this week. But we're all a little under the weather for different reasons, but we're getting through it. So are you guys excited? How does it feel being a playoff week? Does this feel like the last 4-ish years, right?
That's a good question, John. I think I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, always.
Excitingly nervous because the Bills have had less bad days this year than they've had in past years. So my brain goes to the thought of we're due for a bad day. That maybe that's just the pain of pasts haunting us. But the Broncos are an interesting team to play in the first round. They're probably the best first round opponent that we are facing since Phillip Rivers, right? The first legitimate team and head coach combination, right? Sean Payton is what really makes me nervous about this game. And I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I still think the Bills are going to win, but I'm a little nervous leading up to it.
Yeah, it might end up kind of like that Colts game where you're, it feels like you're playing well and you're there and you show up, but it still comes down to like, hey, if a Hail Mary went a different way and, if Joe Flacco had, a couple of years left on him, on his arm, probably could have got the ball to the end zone. It might have been a different story, but yeah, no, I'm the same. Pat, what about you? You're going to the game, aren't you?
Yep, I'll be there in the rock pile. If you guys want to look for me, I'll be there. I look pretty much the same. But I don't know. It is interesting.
Pat does very much look the same. He is not catfishing people on this show right now.
Yeah, let me turn off my Snapchat filter real quick and then be like,
right.
But I don't know. It is kind of nerve wracking. I don't want to speak anything bad into existence, but I remember Brando losing his mind after we lost to the Denver Broncos at home last year. So
still one of the worst events I've been to.
12 men on the field. Bro,
and guess who got fired? The offensive coordinator, who had nothing to do with sending 12 men on the field.
No, but I feel like it is interesting. It's kind of a full circle moment for us here because that Denver Broncos team is kind of what really propelled our team last year into greatness in this year. So hopefully not the same result. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting comment from Rasul Douglas this week that I saw. He said that last year they peaked during that win streak that came after the Broncos game. And this year he feels like they haven't peaked yet. Now, again, that might be what somebody would say heading into a playoff run when you're like, okay, we got to peak at the right time, guys, right? So things might change in hindsight if you ask them about it next year. But I think that's a good mentality to have, and like a nice little insight from the team where it's like, it takes a lot out of you to go on a 6-game must-win streak to claim the division and get back to hosting a home playoff game. That takes a lot out of you, and we're familiar with the whole "this team ran out of gas at the end of the season" narrative because that's something that's cropped up after these divisional round losses. But yeah, I think I kind of agree with him from the outside looking in. This is a team that seems like they're about to peak at the right time and have played some pretty great football, but it hasn't looked like they're using every ounce of energy in the tank. They're holding back stuff against the Jets and Dolphins towards the end of the year. So for that reason, I'm excited and feel optimistic about it. But again, it's like you're always one bad day away from your season being ruined. Home. So yeah. And we talked about that last week already a little bit. But
it's interesting when you talk about the peak, and I think it brings me back to swimming in high school, Pat, when we would do a taper.
Oh yeah,
to try
dude,
to
absolutely.
peak at the right time.
Yes.
And our coach has this meticulous program that we have to follow to a T. You know, when do we shave our heads? Like, we got to do it all at the exact right time. And little does our coach know that we're pulling on the lane lines during this taper. We're hammering the box of Twinkies in the locker room. You know,
Yes.
we're not doing this taper very well, so we didn't peak at the right times. But the thing about the Bills that is different this year than in past years, that loss against the Rams, I think, is a huge deal for the Bills team to face that adversity late in the season, in a part of the season that everybody thought they were going to struggle in. But to see, look at the flaws from that game, right? We didn't have a good pass rush. Matt Stafford didn't get touched. We had a gaffe on special teams, but that blocked punt cost us. But I'm glad they got it blocked against the Rams then in the playoffs, because how does a big underdog beat you in the playoffs?
Yeah,
they get points on a special teams play like that. So they had to face it. They played the Rams. They found their deficiencies, and hopefully they figured it out. Like you said, they have been working on holding stuff back. They play the Lions after that. They bounce back. So, after that Lions game, it's pretty much been coasting since then. And I'm super curious to see what they have dialed up.
Yeah. Yeah. So not to peek ahead too much here, because I don't want to look past this week. But again, like, the players can't look past this week, but we can, because we're fans and we have no effect on the team. Okay. So would you rather? This is a would you rather. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the playoff bracket and how things are looking right now. But basically, if the Ravens win versus the Steelers and the Chargers win also, the Ravens would go to Buffalo and the Chargers would go to Kansas City. So that's option one, right? Hosting Baltimore, Chargers go to Kansas City. Option two is the Steelers beating the Ravens, and the Steelers would play the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional, and then the Bills would get the winner of Chargers-Texans. So on the one hand, if the Steelers win, you're knocking one of the two best teams out of the playoffs, and you're not going to have to play Baltimore, right? You're not going to have to get past Baltimore and Kansas City. But the flip side of that is you're sending the Steelers to play the Chiefs, which I don't think any of us think that the Steelers would stand a chance against the Chiefs, right? So you're not getting the best opponent to probably beat the Chiefs. So the big question is, would you rather have a chance to knock out the Chiefs, or knock out the Ravens like in the first round at that point? I know those were some complicated options. It looks a lot less complicated if you're on Pro Football Network doing the machine and clicking in the picks. But what do you guys think?
And I'm not going to shut down your question, John, but I think a Denver Broncos team with a quarterback that threw for almost 4,000 yards and only 6 interceptions, we shouldn't look past them because they could beat us. No, I think I want to play the Chargers, man. No, I lied. I'm sorry. I want to play the Ravens second. I don't care. I really don't care. I think this is, this isn't a good answer for your question. But there's been a maturation process of Josh Allen. And I think part of that process is that he can beat any team that he's going to face this year. I think he knows that he's capable of it, but the Ravens scare me more than the Chiefs do. I think they have a higher ceiling than the Chiefs do. So any way that you can knock the Ravens out first would probably be more beneficial to me, because I think we could take down the Chiefs. I'm not worried about that. This is a whole different roster than who we had in the 13 seconds game. They don't carry the pain of the 13 seconds game. They're not carrying the missed kick last year. They're not carrying the AFC Championship loss on their shoulders. Josh might be, but he's also older and more mature. So I think to have Pittsburgh knock off the Ravens first, in my opinion, would be more beneficial to us. But then you got Justin Herbert coming here. This is a tough playoff board to start.
Of course. It's the NFL playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Really, the question is, and the other part of this too that I was thinking about is like, there's a chance if you knock the Chiefs out in the divisional round, then you can host an AFC Championship game. So that's something that's always been talked about. The Browns were so close to doing it. Freaking Chad Henne comes into that game. We all remember that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's an interesting thought exercise because it makes you think about who you're most afraid of in these playoffs. And again, you're like, right, we have Josh Allen, but it's not Josh Allen I'm afraid of. It's, it's
Coach.
this defense letting up a couple of 80-yard Derrick Henry runs, or it's, again, it's the defensive matchup that worries you. It's the offense. It's the Chiefs coming alive. It's also, even though I would pick the Bills to beat the Chiefs at this very moment, there's still that, how like right now we're picking the Bills to beat the Broncos, right? But we're still worried about it, right? I'd still pick the Bills to beat the Chiefs, but that doesn't mean I'd be so worried about what that would look like if they lost to them again. Like, think of the offseason narratives that we'd have to deal with. Think about the things that we have to talk about on this show. Think about looking back at history and saying, like, doing this whole thing over a year again and trying to, draw Peyton Manning comparisons to make us feel better about going 0-4 against the Chiefs in the playoffs. And then basically even more so amplified of what happened this year, which is like, the regular season win against the Chiefs doesn't matter because they always lose to them in the playoffs, right? Even though I think the Bills would win, I'm definitely scared of what it would feel like if they lost,
Do you think, though, I would rather lose to Mahomes than Jackson? Because if you lose to...
Yeah, then Josh is at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, at least Josh is 1B right now, almost in everybody's book. I mean, he's 1A in our book. So, but Lamar beating Allen, to me, in a divisional round matchup, and even if Lamar doesn't do a whole lot, I have Derrick Henry's playoff stats here. He has played in 7 games. He has 732 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 182 yards in a game against New England. He had 195 rushing yards on 30 carries and a 3-yard touchdown pass when the Titans beat the Ravens as a 1, and the Ravens were the 1 seed a few years ago. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So
Stomp on the logo. I remember it very vividly.
Yeah. So that's a little scary to me because I would rather keep Josh where he is now. And it's okay to lose to a dynasty team, right? I think... I don't think it's okay, but it makes you feel better.
I would rather him lose to Lamar Jackson, who had a better statistical season than Josh, right? Like, we all think Josh is the MVP, but if the teams were switched in their records, it's probably going to be Lamar Jackson, to be perfectly honest. Both of them had stellar seasons. I think, maybe even it's just like, what are we talking about in the offseason? I'd rather talk about how the Bills, because if they lose to Lamar, they're probably going to have a really good offensive performance, and we're going to talk about the defense and stuff like that. And I can't take another loss in Arrowhead. It's just America's sick of the Chiefs. I'm sick of the Chiefs. And again, because they're going to get so much of the benefit of the doubt that the Chiefs could go 0-10 to start next season. They'll still be like, well, they'll be ready come playoff time. It's just like, I don't know. And I don't want to see the Chiefs win another one. I think that would be exhausting, and frustrating, and almost worse than all the Brady stuff, because at least we're competitive now. And, you just keep running into this wall in the playoffs. So I wouldn't notch Josh below Lamar because they'd be 1-1 against each other in the playoffs at that point.
Yeah, but then Ravens fans would say that he was out for that fourth quarter.
The second half of that game.
I'd rather hear from Ravens fans for the next 6 months than Chiefs fans again. So lesser of two evils.
I mean,
right?
I don't want to speak any of this into existence, though. Also, I mean, I think that
Right.
ideally, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I'm always going to pick the Bills to win, not to cover. But I would rather take the Steelers to beat the Ravens than I would the Texans to beat the Chargers. And maybe that's recency bias with the Texans, who did beat us in Houston. But at the same time, I also feel like, let's say that the Ravens do win. If we go and Josh beats Lamar Jackson, we go to Arrowhead and we beat Pat Mahomes, It doesn't matter if he wins the Super Bowl. It literally doesn't. Not to sound like, it's a consolation prize.
They lose
like
to the
we
Lions.
said, like we said, it's horrible juju if you go your first time to the Super Bowl and lose, you never win it. But like, I don't know if you're able to run that gauntlet of, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, like, I think that would put any sort of hate to bed forever, really. But that's just
I mean, you're not going to be able to quash that narrative unless you beat him in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And again, like if Kansas City loses to the Steelers in the divisional round and the Bills are hosting the AFC Championship against the Steelers, what are Kansas City fans going to say? And again, like this is why winning the Super Bowl matters, because if Chiefs fans are like, well, you can't beat us in the playoffs if we, like, I don't care. We just won the last Super Bowl. Like you can talk to me all you want. I'll be the happiest person in the world. I don't care. But you're right. Like beating both those guys in the playoffs, that would be like, okay, there's no doubt here. And, but again, all that is very secondary to the Super Bowl. I mean, we could go on a run of beating rookie quarterbacks to the Super Bowl and Mahomes twists his ankle and can't play in the AFC Championship game. And we're beating whoever they're back at, Carson Wentz. At that point, I'd be like, I don't care. There's no asterisks in sports, as Jeremy says on the morning show. Like, it's just give me the trophy. Give me the moment. I want to hang out with you guys. I want to watch the Bills win that game and call it a day. It could be against the 33rd expansion team. I don't care. Put the Seattle Kraken out there. Just give me the trophy.
I'm opposite, dude. I want to beat the best. I want Allen to put his name on the Mount Rushmore of the NFL, man.
Of course you would pick the harder matchup if you knew you were going to win, but like I just want to win first and foremost.
Now, two things about what you said. You're talking about being Brady-esque. We are not there. Brady was 34-3 against us in his career. We have, Allen's
I wasn't saying he was Brady-esque or anything like that. I'm just saying like compared to
right? Yeah.
I was comparing the Chiefs to the Patriots, like which one was more exhausting to watch as a non-fan. Does that make sense?
I still think losing 34 times was more exhausting than what we've done so far. We're only like 5 years in. And
recency bias. It's I don't know what part of Stockholm Syndrome it is, but in times when your body is at high stress, it can shut itself off. I think that's what I did for a portion of those 17 years. And it's far enough back that I think I've suppressed it. So.
But I mean, it was also like, I mean, to your point right there, the Bills we beat Jimmy Garoppolo. We beat, oh God, I'm trying to think who else. Oh Jesus, what's his name? I'm losing my mind.
Kyler Murray.
No, I meant Jimmy Garoppolo when he played for the Pats, and we beat
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
We beat Matt Castle. So it wasn't necessarily. It was a Brady Belichick thing. It wasn't
and
necessarily.
And then Brady beats us with Tampa.
In Tampa, in that crazy comeback game. I mean, I don't know.
Rid the demons, man. That's what I want to do. Now, the next thing, John, that you said on there about the Chiefs fans talking about who we won against and who's beaten who. And Joe Burrow gets this mystical aura around him because he's beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. And this dude didn't even make the playoffs. And you talk about the Bills peaking at the right time. And I'm looking at the Broncos schedule, and that's their schedule gives me that vibe of they emptied their tank to get into the playoffs. And when you look at their schedule and you look at the teams that they beat, I'm going back to September, they beat Tampa, they beat the Jets, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Saints, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Falcons, they beat the Raiders again, they beat the Browns, they beat the Colts. And
only the best NFL franchises in that list for sure.
I believe they are 2-7 against winning teams, and one of those wins was against a backup quarterback. I'd have to see it. Maybe it's the.
Well, I mean, one of them is Carson Wentz.
Yeah, one of them is Carson
Wentz. Yeah, so I think they are kind of paper tiger-ish, but this looks like one of those things that like the Bills when they broke their drought, right? This is the first playoff game Denver's having in. Is it 8 years now? 7 years since Manning?
Yeah, since Manning won the Super Bowl. So
they're just happy to be here, right? They're just happy to be here. And the thing about this game, and we should pick these games soon because Pat wanted to do these game picks before we started talking. But the thing about this game is, you remember when Sean Payton, he was playing, who did they play last? They played maybe the Bengals or maybe it was the Chargers. But he had on his play sheet, and the TV could see it, he wrote in large Sharpie, run it, run it, run it. So he could remind himself to not get too complicated with the play calling. And I think a guy like Sean Payton could draw up something to keep this game close. But he might not have the X factor. And against the Broncos, I believe Allen has thrown 4 picks in his career. If that tracks, maybe he had 2 in last year's game.
We went to a Bills Broncos game. I remember it would have been.
Yes, that was on my birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, with everybody. That was fun.
Josh playing. Yeah. But sorry.
And so it makes me a little nervous. You got the defensive player of the year on the other side of the field, who's not TJ Watt, which is better for us because we have the weapons that you could take out half the field with Patrick Surtain, and I'll throw it to James Cook on the other side of the field. I'll throw it to Ty Johnson. I'll take advantage of the matchups. So let Joe Brady show why he's being interviewed by 5 other coaches as a head coach here. Let Joe Brady figure something out to out-scheme Sean Payton, and let's see it. But I'm not looking past this game. It makes me nervous to do that, and I think whatever happens in this NFL playoffs, we are in for a ride, man. We're in for a ride. If you're going to the stadium, man, be loud, Pat. I'm excited for you to get to be there. I'll have to see you there, man. But these Broncos, don't sleep on them. But Josh Allen, MVP in the playoffs, at home. What are you going to ask for? What else could you rather ask for?
Yeah. I'll leave you boys with 2 things. Number 1, just for the magnitude, if we do get there, if we do win the Lombardi, there's only been one guy that's ever won a championship with the Buffalo Bills, Jack Kemp. He retires, never done politics a day in his life, and becomes a New York State representative for Erie County. So I'm just saying, just think of the magnitude of sway that Josh would have. He could run for governor, and he would get elected. But the Jack
RFK
Kemp effect
might ask Josh instead of Aaron Rodgers to be vice president.
Right.
Yes. And then number 2, hilarious. I will say, and like you guys said, I don't want to act like this game isn't important or anything, but I was watching the game and I told my girlfriend Elizabeth, I said, if the Broncos lose this game and the Bengals go into the playoffs, I'm not going to buy tickets for the game. So
I would have been upset too, man. I would have been real upset about that. Yeah.
That would have been rough. We'd be talking with a little bit more anxiety this week, I feel like, for sure. But I was just going to say, it's that time of year again, right? That time that everybody loves where we argue about whether teams should be able to argue or to interview head coaching candidates from teams that are in the conversation. Yeah. And then we get to have that fun conversation after the fact. If the Bills lose, was this coordinator distracted? So I don't want to do that. Let's get a win this week. Yeah. Let's, by the way, the Bills also put in a rule change for that a couple years ago that got rejected. Yep. So they're trying their best to do that. But
Pat, before you bounce, do you want to look at this game pick sheet and just you fire through these and then John and I'll go through after?
Thanks, man. I just...
Yeah. All right, Pat, you ready?
Yep. Let me see. I think I had them pulled up on my phone.
Chargers, Texans. I can read them to you.
So it looks like the Chargers have a 3-point spread. Give me the Chargers. I'll take that.
Pittsburgh, Baltimore. 9.5 point
with that hoof.
Favorite, Baltimore.
I'll take the Ravens to win, not to cover.
Green Bay at Philly. Philly's 4.5 point favorite.
Upset alert. Give me the Pack. I've been riding you pretty hard here, Jordan Love. I'd love to see you peak at the right time.
Washington at Tampa. Tampa's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah. Give me the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. I like Jaden Daniels a lot, but Baker, there's something about him. He's beaten the Eagles and he's beaten the Lions. I mean, if there's anyone that's going to make a run, it's going to be Sir Baker.
Minnesota at the Rams. Minnesota is a 1-point favorite.
Yeah, well, Sam Darnold's a pretender. So give me a real immobile pocket passer in Matthew Stafford. But yeah, I can give the Rams.
I think immobile, he might be slightly offended. He's not a statue like Aaron Rodgers, but he is not mobile. So we'll give it to you. Last but not least.
Nailed it.
Denver at Buffalo. Buffalo 8.5 point favorite.
Bills to win, not to cover. That's the good luck. Good luck to you guys. I look forward to the game on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Thank you guys. Much love. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, John, we heard it from Pat. Now let's put ours together here. Playoff picks for the wild card weekend. Wild stuff happens all the time. Underdogs win, favorites win. You know, what's going to happen?
Somebody's going to win these games.
Somebody's going to win these games.
Breaking news.
Somebody's got to win, right?
Not another Buffalo podcast here.
All right, we got the Chargers at the Texans. The Chargers are -3, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is a lock of the year. I don't know. I've only said it 100 times this year.
Let's check Brando's lock record right now.
1-1.
I think we're like 2-2, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's not
Brando.
high and it's not low. It's right about dead even.
Brando is about 500 on locks of the year, so it tells you all you need to know. I feel the same. I'm gonna go Chargers here too. The Texans have looked like a shell of themselves ever since they've lost Stephon Diggs and now Tank Dell as well. So tough injury season for them. But good news is you don't really need very much to win the AFC South these days. You know, that's kind of the fate of the AFC South Invitational these days, which is usually that 4-seed matchup.
Yep.
So yeah, give me the Chargers.
All right, the AFC North battle that we are all looking forward to. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore 9.5-point favorite. I'm taking the points. I don't think they're going to win, but to give me almost 10 points against the Ravens. They usually play pretty close. Their last game was close until Russell Wilson threw a pick six, I believe, at the end of the game. He has not thrown a lot of picks this year, so I think he cleans it up. They might lose a nail biter, but they're not going to lose by 10.
Yeah. I thought about it for a second, and then I realized how many playoff losses this version of the Steelers has had since Ben Roethlisberger has retired, and what those games have looked like. Now, honestly, Russell Wilson's probably the best quarterback that they've had for any of these.
For sure.
But yeah.
Did you see this? Did you see the legit numbers on the starts of their last 5 playoff games?
Oh, no, it's terrible, right?
They've been down 20 points or more in all 5 of their losses in their last 5 postseason appearances, and I want to say there's a game in there that they're on like 30-0 at some point, but they've been blown out of the water in their first round playoff matches.
Bad, so
I don't know if you watched did you watch the Steelers Bengals game?
Not this last one, no.
Dude, 2 things. First of all, Mike Tomlin, if he was in Buffalo, we would be calling for him to be fired. On how
a lot of Steelers fans are. They're like, they don't even want a playoff win because they're like, this is our purgatory. Yeah. It's kind of like the Bills quarterback purgatory, but inverted.
It reminds me of the old school Bengals too, with Andy Dalton and everything. But dude, this
Levy, was that Levy's? Not Levy Smith. No, he was.
I was gonna say Levy Smith, but I wasn't sure. So
no, it's oh, come on, let me think of this. He's still a Hugh.
Hugh Jackson.
No. Yeah, is it Hugh Jackson? No.
Marvin Lewis.
Yeah. Why did we weren't even close.
No.
Hugh? It's definitely Hugh.
Green Bay at Philly. Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol as of today. Interesting story there. I'm taking the Packers here to upset the Eagles. The Eagles are disappointing to me. That's all I have to say. Give me the points.
I'm gonna go Philly here. I think that they haven't had a great last couple weeks, but I like them in this matchup. So okay. I'm gonna go Philly. We'll see.
Got a little differentiation here. So
yeah.
Okay. Washington at Tampa Bay. I am so craving to take Baker Mayfield here. The dude, 40 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. What an outstanding performance from the 2018 draft class of quarterbacks outside of Josh Rosen this year. But give me Jaden Daniels and the points.
All right. I like it. I'm also going Jaden Daniels and the points there. I like them for the away upset.
So we're going to go to the craziest game, potentially, a 14-win Minnesota team in a wild card game against Matt Stafford and the Rams. I don't think this game's going to be close. I think the Rams are going to run away with this. I see you guys both picked this as well. So, this could cost Sam Darnold quite a lot of money in Minnesota if he loses this game.
Well, I don't even know if that contract is going to be waiting for him in Minnesota because remember, they've got his successor on the bench that they just drafted this year. Yeah. So he might be costing himself money elsewhere, but I think that money has already been kind of guaranteed. Someone's going to sign Sam Darnold next year, whether it goes well or not. I wouldn't want my team to sign Sam Darnold next year, but I'm going with the Rams. I do think it'll be close because of Minnesota's defense. Their defense is just outstanding. Remember, Sam Darnold has a bad game. Obviously, that's going to look bad, but the rest of their team, they're probably the most well-rounded team in the entire league as far as other aspects of the game.
Hot take. The Lions are roaring at you after their dominating win against them.
Lions have a quarterback.
Yeah, kind of.
Minnesota's got a better defense and better secondary than the Lions. Yeah. Better pass rush.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about Minnesota's defense. I know almost nothing about them.
They're boring. Their team is very boring and very good. So again, that might be playoff football-esque. I have some people seeing them getting through the divisional round when they pick the bracket. But if I'm going to pick my spots for an upset, I think picking the Rams there down 1 point is a good pick.
All right, here we go. Denver at Buffalo. Highmark Stadium should be in the 20s. at game time, maybe low 30s. Shouldn't be ridiculous like it was against the Patriots. 8.5 points, big spread. Implied total for this game is 29-19 or 28-19, right? 28-20, something like that. Right around those. You gotta look at the total and see what it is. I don't know. But I think the Bills can cover this. So I'm going to pick them.
All right. I like it. Sorry, just me over here fixing the errors on our records here on the...
Yo, what did I do wrong here? 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, and 41. I had that right.
You're good. You put it in the weekly record spot instead of the overall. So I had to move it down and fill it in. All right. Well, don't let Brandon manage your spreadsheets, people.
That's a one for everybody to listen to.
All right. Bills favored by 8.5. Give me the Bills, baby. Come on. I feel good about this game. I feel good about this matchup. Obviously, it's the NFL. Anything can happen any given week, but not going to be this week. I like the Bills to make a run this year. So got to start it off strong. You know, the Bills have eked out some wild card wins against less than stellar opponents before, whether it's Skylar Thompson or Mason Rudolph in the past. So that doesn't necessarily bode well, especially because the defense is probably weaker than it has been in the past few years. But playoff defense has been weak, whereas regular season defense has been strong. And this year, defense has been weak all the way. So are we going to get a strong playoff defense, or are we going to get an even weaker version of the regular season defense for these Bills? I don't know. I'm excited. I just think that this Bills team offensively will be more consistent even than past years in the playoffs. So Josh is going to be hero Josh. Josh is going to make crazy plays at the end of the game. Hopefully we just get rid of those weird third quarter 3-and-outs that you sometimes see in these playoff games, or the defense or the offense stalling a little bit before Josh has to make those hero plays. So a little bit more on schedule, fewer third downs. I like the Bills in this matchup for sure. So
just to talk about this for a second here, you're talking about like not having us get 3-and-outs. I need to see our defense force some 3-and-outs here, right? They are not good.
Or just get off the field on third down in general.
I'm nervous about the turnover thing. I feel like the turnovers in the playoffs do not carry over as they would in the regular season. John, this stat of the day for you. The passing in this league, quarterbacks threw the lowest amount of interceptions in the league since 1982 as a whole this season throughout the league. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
and
Bills led the league in turnover differential as well. I believe they're
plus 12. Does that sound right?
They're like plus 24, I think.
Oh, plus 24. Okay. And then you got Mr. Balanced McDermott over here. I think when it came out that the Bills had 30 passing and 30 rushing touchdowns this year, I saw that and I'm like, McDermott has to be drooling over this, right? Just so excited to have such a nice balanced attack. And we see James Cook crack 1,000 yards and Josh Allen's the second leading rusher with almost 500 or just a bit over 500. You cannot ask for more. And he has the version of the team that he wants, that he's been dying for. And it's are we gonna capitalize on it? And I think it's gonna start off good in this first week of the playoffs.
I wonder how it's going to look different from the approach to last year's playoffs, because last year it looked like they were trying to play ball control, like they were an inferior opponent. And This year I hope they come out gunslinging, because they should be beating these teams, and they should be beating the Chiefs in that method too. Give me 10 possessions each with the Chiefs. I like our odds at that point. I don't like our odds if it's 6 possessions and it's a grinded out game, because the Chiefs win those games.
Yep.
So
put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos play that game this Sunday, though. The Broncos should copy the exact game plan we had against the Chiefs last year. If you want to have a shot at this, that's what you got to do, right? You run it. You hope. Bo Nix has ran. He's got almost identical stats to Josh Allen this year. If you really look at him, he's ran for
earlier Josh Allen, right?
No, this year Josh Allen and Bo Nix, statistically, it's not the same.
Right.
Their stats mean different things, but statistically, passing yards super close. I think Bo Nix might even have a little bit more. Interceptions, Bo Nix might have a few more. Rushing yards, Bo Nix has like 480 to Allen's 520. And the thing that I saw about Bo Nix is he has 41 rushing first downs, and that's what we think about when we think about Josh Allen running. He always picks up these first downs. And a quarterback like that scares me against this Bills defense because they have a hard enough time getting off the field on third down as it is. So to add the mobility factor to it, it lets you extend the drive and play this ball control style that Sean Payton might be able to squeeze a little bit more juice out of their team this time against this Bill. That's why I'm nervous. I still think we have the better players. We win this game, but it makes me nervous.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Do you want to give us some good bets for this game? You want to bring back Brando's bets for a little playoff matchup here? Roll the intro.
Time for Brando's Bets.
Not financial advice. Please gamble responsibly.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. We always love the Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Anytime TD Josh Allen is -120, these lines are subject to change. You like Cortland Sutton? Seems to have a good connection with Bo Nix. He's +155. Dalton Kincaid, maybe a first-time playoff breakout game, +240. You pick your guy, you make your bet, find what you like best at the DraftKings Sportsbook. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NABP. That's code NABP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-7897-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, Brandon, what we got cooked up for this week? No pun intended.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We are cooking in the kitchen with James Cook. The man ties O.J. Simpson's rushing record, franchise record, with 16 touchdowns on the year, which is funny. They just put him in the game right at the end, give him the little 2-yard run. Well, they gave him 2 handoffs at the goal line, right? He got one at the 4-yard line, gets one at the 2-yard line to tie that record, which is awesome. The dude's averaging 5 yards a carry, just about 4.9 yards a carry, cracks 1,000 yards, and his line on DraftKings is insane. John, I will let you take it from here because I know you've got some information here that is super helpful about this James Cook prop.
Well, his over-under is set at 56.5 rushing yards on DraftKings right now. I am looking on the Elite Picks app right now, which is, I've actually done some marketing work with this app recently, which has been really fun. If you haven't tried this app before, we do have a referral link in the show notes if you want to check it out. It's super cool, but it basically uses machine learning models to score props, and this James Cook prop is the highest scored prop in this Bills game. So the algorithm likes the over. I think we both like the over.
Absolutely.
The matchup is good against this. It is a stout defense of Denver, but again, this algorithm is able to look beyond just the simple rushing allowed by opponent stats because they are very good. But again, where this line is set, 56.5, I just think that's too low. He's projected by the algorithm to have 63 rushing yards in this game. And I think even that's a little bit conservative. You know that Joe Brady and McDermott would like nothing better than to come out of this game without having to use all their advanced pass concepts and empty out the bag before next week.
Yep.
If the Broncos want to play ball control, you can play that game too, as long as you're winning at it, right? And your defense can make some stops. So I like James Cook to get over 56.5 rushing yards this week. This offensive line, I don't know if you've seen Spencer Brown handle some people this year. I enjoyed seeing some of those highlights this week. I think they're going to eat. So if the offensive line is going to eat, I think James has got to cook it. So I'm going James Cook over 56.5 rushing yards. And again, if you want to check out the Elite Picks app, we do have a link in the show notes that'll get you a nice little free trial of that super cool app. I love you. I use it to research all my bets and stuff like that. And I've won a lot more this season than I have in years past. So,
and also, not for nothing, we saw James Cook go for a 49-yard touchdown against the Dolphins, a 28-yard touchdown against the Niners, a 22-yard touchdown against the Seahawks. What did he have last couple weeks ago, like a 51-yarder maybe.
Yeah.
So he could hit this in one carry if he hits the hole the right way. So, halftime, does he hit this? How cocky are we going to be?
I was going to say, we can get super cocky about it. But
over
that's
for the game,
Brando's bet of the week. We're bringing it back for the playoffs, and let's start a new Brando. So
assisted by John.
Right.
Elite
No,
picks.
it's funny.
We
were talking about this. We actually were talking about what our bets would be for this game, and we're both like, "Are you taking James Cook?" And we're like, "Yeah, we should."
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah,
we were going to do. We were going to do two different picks actually, but no, James Cook's over for rushing looks good.
Yes.
So love it. All right, I want to ask you this. This is a little bit from earlier in the week, so sorry if this is a little bit behind the news cycle here. But you saw that the Jets interviewed Rex Ryan, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of been talking about for a couple of weeks.
And Ron Rivera, that was a funny one.
All right, so I want to ask you something here. I got to take a drink of water before this because this is going to be interesting. Okay, would the Jets hiring Rex Ryan look like a poverty franchise move?
Oh,
like would people point to the Jets
gimmicky
and say, look at that clown show, they're hiring Rex Ryan, who is definitely the league probably passed him by before he was done coaching in the league before.
For sure.
And now you're going to hire him again because of vibes, right?
Yeah.
And you point to ownership, you'd point to that franchise and say, this is why you can't have nice things, right?
Yeah. So this is an interesting take because I would agree with you.
You would agree with me, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this because I think we're on the same page here.
Okay.
Are the Sabres any different?
Well, okay. So what? Because they brought back Lindy,
question, right?
They bring back Lindy, right? As Rex Ryan.
Yes, they bring back. Now, I think it's different. Just to preface this, I think it's different.
Yeah.
But that's because I like Lindy Ruff. If you're a Jets fan who likes Rex Ryan, is your opinion any better than mine?
Oh, I think so. I do think so because I think even for us as Sabres fans, Lindy Ruff might not have been the best man for the job, but in hockey, in the Sabres organization, in the city of Buffalo, man, it's hard to get somebody to take that job. It's hard to get somebody to take that job, right? It's say what you want, man. The owners, the stadium, the players, whatever. But in the NFL, man, it's so easy to turn over a roster. You see it every year. Somebody goes from worst to first every year. It's a tradition unlike any other.
Was there anybody that did that this year?
Washington didn't get to first. The Texans were good.
But anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to take you off your course there.
So I think bringing Rex back would definitely be gimmicky. I would be curious. I have to ask. There's a couple Jets fans I work with. I have to ask them what they would feel about it. But I think they need a Sean McDermott, man. Don't give me the number one name out there. Ron Rivera would fit well. Mike Vrabel would fit well, I think. Somebody that has done it before. Don't give me a rookie head coach. They need somebody with credibility that has won in the league before, that the players are going to respect. Especially, what are you going to do with Rodgers, right? Who wants this job? Who wants this Jets job? Seriously, you're going to have to go retread.
I don't think Rodgers is going to be there next year.
There's a lot of money. If they lose Rodgers and Devonta Adams, there's a lot of dead money happening in New York. So just for that piece alone, maybe it's worth running. I don't know. You need somebody that's not going to be like, we were going to fire him after a year or two. We're not going to get Nathaniel Hackett the job. We're not going to give, I don't know. I don't think if you're a young offensive coordinator, between the Jets and like the Saints with their salary cap, like you don't want those jobs. You want New England.
You want the Patriots job
you
with
want
Drake
New England.
May.
I think even Jacksonville's a little bit appealing to me. If you're Joe Brady, I did talk about that a little bit. Maybe you work with Trevor Lawrence. You got a good receiving core, and we got that coach, the wide receivers coach, is Bills coach, right? He's in Jacksonville. I can never remember his name.
Chad Hall.
Chicago is interesting too, but the story with Ben Johnson wants the GM fired before he even considers them for an interview, and I'm like, they're gonna fire this GM. Try to interview Ben Johnson. He's going to decline the job, right? Like, so hiring Rex Ryan is gimmicky as hell. I think
I think that Lindy Ruff, I liked the hiring of Lindy Ruff. I really did. I still do, even with how the season is going. I think it just gave us something to root for, even though, they might not have the core of players to be good right now. Like, we might just suck for a couple more years. Like, that just might be the reality. But at least, we like Lindy. But the parallels to these two franchises are just too much to ignore. Like they have the same amount of years in an active playoffs missing streak. I mean, Lindy Ruff was the guy who took them to the conference finals, right?
Yeah.
Rex Ryan took them to the conference championship.
Yeah.
Took them on a run. Didn't get there, but they're kind of they're high energy guys. They're not known as tactical guys. They're just, they're vibe guys.
Maybe they need a tactical guy. I think the Sabres are in a better place than the Jets, though. Like from a personnel perspective.
We think that now, but I mean,
we have a generational talent on defense. His name's Rasmus Dahlin. We have a superstar top 10 scoring player in Tage Thompson. Do you have either of those on the Jets right now? Quinnen Williams, maybe. No. He's not generational. There's like 10 of them in the league that can play.
Yeah, no, you're right. They probably are set up better for the next 5 years than the Jets are because, I don't know, maybe. That depends on if you believe in this core.
Well, and the thing about hiring Lindy, you hired a soccer coach because you can't get a top NHL coach to come to Buffalo. It's not like the NFL where you have 10 coaches not in the league that are proven that have won games. Ron Rivera went to a Super Bowl. Mike Vrabel was renowned as a good coach, the Stanley Steamer carpet cleaner. And to have these hot offensive coordinators, and the money is way more in the NFL. So the Jets have a lot more options. And again, they have the turnaround to be good in the NFL is so much faster. You get a draft pick this year as the Jets is a top 10 pick. Your top 10 pick in the NHL, Helenius for the Sabres, whatever his name is. He's not touching the ice here anytime soon. So I think the Jets coaching search, Rex would be interesting for us to talk about for a few years here. Maybe give me some more Adam Gase vibes, but
yeah.
Lindy was a good story for the city. We're lucky that he has a house here in Clarence still, right? I mean, he's a big Bills fan. We got lucky that Lindy wanted to come back because otherwise we were promoting the AHL head coach because we don't have anybody that wants to come to Buffalo to be the coach of this team. So.
I also think Lindy is a better coach in today's NFL than Rex Ryan would be in today's NFL by a long stretch. So I think that might be the biggest reason. Yeah. I just thought that was interesting because the parallels between those two franchises.
Super interesting.
There's just too much to ignore. You're right. And like it sucks. The Sabres are kind of a poverty franchise until they're not.
No, they absolutely are in the pits of poverty. It's below poverty line. They are asking for change at the intersection. They have the smallest scouting department. They cut all their staff to save money. They have a dumpster fire of an arena.
They wouldn't let Lindy hire his own staff.
Nah, it's dumpster fire, man. It's poverty beyond poverty and poverty.
Thank God for
the
Bills,
Jets are
right?
a big market, right? They print money if they want to, and the only thing I might say here, which now this is the debate, is the owner of the Jets who is taking tips from his grandkids based on Madden,
allegedly,
right?
Allegedly,
better than Terry Pagula. Because I think Terry does care, but just because he, I don't know, man. That's the conversation: is which owner would you rather have?
I'd rather have Terry. I'd rather have Terry because, again, once he gets it right, I think he's a little bit more hands off. But he just hasn't gotten it right with the Sabres.
He might be too hands off with the Sabres. I think that's the thing, right? Or he's kind of ebbed and flowed between 2 hands off and 2 hands on because they don't have a president of hockey operations. They won't hire somebody in that role like Michael Pekka or whoever, Chris Drury, Danny Bray, you name it. And none of these players that want to be here that played for us, that they don't want to come back and coach here. And they're all big time successful in their roles in the league. So that's a big telling point for me. I think that, you can't get Mike Greer to come be the GM here. You have to you got Kevin Adams, who has worked in this organization and worked with Lindy, and he was like the youth hockey rep at one point for the Sabres, and he's been here for a while. Kevin, you're gonna run the team now, right? So stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry not to go on too far of a tangent because it's Bills playoff week here. We don't need the Sabres in our life until the Bills are out of it this year, right?
Undefeated start. Shout out to them. Keep going on the Bills though. Sorry. That's all.
Yeah. So anyway, Yeah, sorry. I was going to bring up another topic there, but that I don't want to get too far into it. Let's stick with the Bills here. Any final predictions for this week? We picked the games, we picked our expectations and stuff like that.
31-21, Bills win. Broncos keep it close until the fourth quarter, and the Bills pull away. Maybe it's an interception, a sack strip. Von Miller comes to play. It'll be close. The Colts game I think it's gonna look a lot like that Phillip Rivers Colts game. We were battling them, and then Allen hits Diggs on that deep pass down the sideline, and that kind of broke the game open a little bit for the Bills. And the Colts were not out of it at all. So I think it's gonna be like that.
I'm gonna go a nice even 30-20. It's a weird score, but I'm going to give 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals to the Broncos. And I'm going to go Bills with 3 touchdowns, a field goal. Wait, hang on. How am I doing this?
Yeah, how do you get to 31?
31. No. Okay. 31. We're 30. We're going 4 touchdowns, 1 field goal, 1 extra point missed. So normally at 31, we're going to go 30 with the missed extra point. So.
Let's hope not, for Tyler Bass's sake.
No. You remember he missed 2 in the perfect game?
Yes, they said that on the radio the other day. That's why they got to their number. And I forget about that too.
It's 47 instead of 47 instead of 49, right?
Yeah. If he misses an extra point, I mean,
no,
if they win
panic.
this game,
I'm not panicking.
You're not panicking.
Tyler,
okay.
No. I'm not even going to speak that into existence.
Yeah.
Tyler Bass could nail a 60-yarder in the freezing cold. He's got it. There might be a 40-yard miss here and there, but it's all right. He's gonna be clutch when we need him.
I like Bulldog's take on this on WGR. He's like, I'm going to be nervous for anybody that's trying to kick on that field in 25 degrees and wind blowing sideways. That's not just Tyler Bass. That's a human thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to kick in Buffalo. I don't care what anybody says. It's hard to kick in Western New York. So.
It is. But all right. Well, I think that's all we got for today. Again, thanks for sticking with us through the tangents as always. But, if you listen to the show for long enough, maybe you're here for the tangents. Like who the heck knows? But anyway, hopefully this is not the last time that we are having a fun conversation and talking about things, and we're not, putting a bow on the season next week, right?
Yeah.
We want to be continuing the run. Still a couple weeks away from the big one. Let's see if we can, keep it going. Hopefully it's going to be a good stretch. And again, I know we talked about this a lot during the regular season, but definitely just enjoy it. And this is me talking to myself. Like, enjoy it.
Yep.
Don't get too far ahead of it, and just because again, even if you make the big one, like once it's gone, it's gone. So
yep.
Brandon's cat is running up with jingle bells. It sounds like either that or Santa has entered the building.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
My fireplace is closed off, so I don't think he can fit down the chimney.
Yeah. Brandon's cat's telling him it's time to go get dinner. So we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys again next week. Oh, my voice finally squeaked. We made it all the way through the episode.
I wasn't referencing the squeak. This bell's going bonkers over here. Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Well, you can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. Again, big thank you to our sponsor, Small City Realty. Again, check out that listing in the show notes. And if you're interested, call Zach Korzelius at 585-409-1088. And again, also check out the Elite Picks app if you're into sports betting at all. It also has NBA stuff in there. Affiliate link in the show notes. That does help us out, so we really appreciate you. And Brandon, we'll see you next week. And as always, playoff.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.